So I just have to say that personally, Tim and I lost our beloved dog last night. And we're okay. I have to say that I knew if there was ever a congregation that would understand what a dog means, it's St. Peter's. And I'm very glad to be with people that I love and I know love me. And we'll be okay. But I'm sad and a little shaky. And I'm not going to talk about bread, although I will say that Kipling, our dog that died, after a very short illness, by the way, and we were with him, and so there were many blessings, as sad as it is. But I could talk a little bit about bread because no dog ever loved a sandwich that he could steal off the counter as much as Kipling. But instead, I want to talk about the Bible. But I will talk about the importance of humor as well, as we always put ourselves in the context of understanding the leavening of humor in our lives. And Kipling was a very funny dog. He had a great sense of humor. And it wasn't always at his behest. When he was a very young puppy, I was taking him for a walk down through Rhinebeck, and someone who I didn't know in town came up to me and said, "Oh, Father Richard, I heard you got a dog. Is this him?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "What's his name?" And I said, "Kipling." And she kind of reeled back and clutched her imaginary kind of pearls and said, "Do you mean to tell me that you named your dog after an elitist, imperialist, racist?" And I said, "If not the Episcopal Church, where?" Nevertheless, I'd like to think about the Jewish Testament and the story of Solomon that we just heard read. And I find it very moving and very profound in that the story of Solomon is surprising. We know that Solomon was wise, so we take for granted the gift of wisdom given him by God, wise above any other king of Israel. But it's important to look carefully at the text and remember why this is so significant and what it means to us in our life of faith. Because Solomon asks for understanding. And I find that profoundly moving. We're told that Solomon does not ask for riches and honor or revenge upon his enemies. And it sounds like God's a little surprised that he doesn't. Instead, he asks for discernment and understanding. And that's powerful to me today as I remember, for example, the presence of Kipling sitting next to me, understanding and being with me without any verbal words, but just deep connection in sensing that he knew what was going on with me. And that gift of understanding is profound and deeply spiritual and deeply divine. Think how many times Jesus in the Christian Testament understands people before they even speak, knows where they're coming from, what they need, understands them profoundly, and therefore loves them. It's an unconditional, deep, spiritual bond. And I'm very moved that that's what Solomon asks for. Now, what's important to remember is how peculiar understanding is. Understanding doesn't come from a place of power or privilege or even being right. It comes instead, I think, from a much more vulnerable place in our lives. It's deeply empathetic, and the process of understanding affirms a deeper connection with the people in our lives. We think of it often as knowledge, that in bastions of great learning, power is bestowed by knowledge. But that's not what understanding is. Understanding is deep connection and relationship. And why this text speaks to me so powerfully today is that I think it's a great reminder of what to ask God for in times of misunderstanding and conflict. We live in a time of deep divisions in our society, in our country, even within groups of friends and family. And I can't help but think that the gift to ask God for in trying to get on in a way that reflects our profound faith and trust in God is to ask not for knowledge, not for power, not for the power of being right and having the last word, or vanquishing those who disagree with us or don't reflect who we are. Instead, we're called to be understanding, to see people in the context of their lives, to listen to their story, and understand them more fully. It doesn't mean we'll agree. It doesn't mean there won't be profound differences. But how wonderful to be like Solomon and ask for the gift of understanding. A way of getting on with our lives that's not fraught with warring conflict, but the gift of discernment, of listening, of compassion, and hopefully understanding. It's a great gift to ask for, and it's a great gift that we need. Because how good it feels to be right, to win, to talk to other people who think exactly the way we do. But that's not real life. And it's not the moment that we find ourselves in, but it's a moment that begs for understanding. You all know that one of my great heroes is Eleanor Roosevelt. So I'm going to tell an Eleanor Roosevelt story. As you all know, Eleanor Roosevelt, when she learned that the DAR in Washington would not allow Marian Anderson, an African-American singer, to perform in Congress Hall, which was owned by the DAR, she resigned her membership, which was not done lightly and was a big deal. She then invited Marian Anderson to sing at the Lincoln Memorial on the Mall, and that was arranged. And when the arrangements were being made for the day, the organizers of the concert said to her, "Mrs. Roosevelt, where would you like to sit during the concert? Would you like to be up with Miss Anderson on the at the stage?" And she said, "No, I'm not coming." And they were very taken aback, and they said, "But it's because of you that this happened. Why would you not come?" And she said, "I prefer to listen to it from the porch at the White House because I don't have to humiliate them, having carried my point. I don't have to defeat them in order to do what's right." She understood the power of understanding and realized that in that deeper connection, we can move forward with our lives together. So I give thanks for many things this morning, for companionship, for friends, for community, but most of all for the gift of understanding. And I pray that I would continue on that journey of listening, of understanding, in deeper relationship in God's name. Amen.